to say that they are confident that Kenyans are going to accept this document. Whether it is the way it is, whether there's going to be some amendments, is a question of wait and see. Ladies and gentlemen, good to have you this morning. You didn't receive the memo? What happened?
I'm seeing
you didn't get the memo?
You didn't get the memo?
Magdalene did not tell you?
I texted him, I was like, eh?
Yes, and I was very categorical that I want my guests coming dressed like this. I don't know what happened to you. Yes, but all the same way.
I like my school uniform.
Well, I love my green, so it is okay. Good to have you. And Kamano, for the first time, you're coming to studio. Yes. Good to have you.
Thank you so much.
Asante Sana. So yes, the BBI talk is here with us. I don't even know whether we should start with the BBI just yet. I think I need us to speak about Sonko for a moment before we delve into the BBI. I need us to speak about the city for a moment, because we might be hiding ourselves, in this, our faces in the sand, arguing that, things are happening well because NMS came on board. But as it is, it looks like it is burning slowly and slowly. By the time we know it, the flames will be all out here. Gloria, what do you make of the activities in Nairobi? Are you impressed that so much is happening?
Do you know, I've never been a supporter of this NMS.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, simply because I believe in democracy. And I believe that when Kenyans went out and voted for Sonko, then we should have gotten Sonko. So that whole thing about handing over certain dockets to national government and actually re-centralization of power, because that's what it is. Yep. For me, I saw it as a step back. And to be honest, I know, first, I'm a military wife, by the way. My husband is in
a military
yes.
person, all right.
And I do believe that military is very effective. Yeah. And I actually think that in another lifetime, yes, there is room and a conversation we can have around adopting some of the strategies that military is using. But in a democratic society, in a place where we actually go to cast our votes and choose our leaders, I feel as though we should either be rewarded with those leaders that we chose and deal with the consequences, or just be punished. With the leaders that we chose and deal with the consequences. Whether or not NMS actually came into action and made some changes, to me I think it's like a bandage. Just as you've seen the pictures contrasting, that yes, they've put like these pavements in the high-end streets, Nairobi town areas, but when you look at the other side and what's really happening, so I start questioning like, really, is this an issue of coming in and trying to show us that in the short period of time that Badi has actually taken over, that so much has been effective? I don't believe, because it's also not possible. It's not like Sonko was doing nothing. There are a lot of wins that Sonko has had, and unfortunately maybe his public relation has been very horrible, that we haven't been told about it. But people on the ground are happy with him, and you can see that by the fact that when he is walking the markets or going with it, people actually like Sonko, and I believe that he's going to run for office. So you ask yourself, why are Kenyans so hell-bent in, supporting a guy who apparently is not working so hard?
All right, Kamano, I don't know what you make of that. Should we have taken the Kiambu direction after all, if the ground felt like Sonko is not doing enough in terms of restoring the glory of Nairobi? What exactly should we have done? Remember that the current government, that is Jubilee government, really wanted to have the county, of course, being headed by a Jubilee party member. And so to speak, Sonko was probably the best bet, in as much as many have argued that they wanted a PK. Reality is that, as Gloria says, the people wanted Sonko.
Yeah, some people might call it unconstitutional, but at the end of the day, we saw Sonko handing over power to the national government.
Okay.
Yeah, it was him. He sat there and he decided these are the moves I'm going to play. At the end of the day, it's also politics. He saw this is the best thing to prove to my party that I'm still loyal.
Was it that, or he was trying to save himself? Because the argument on ground was that he was being bedeviled by so much at that point, so he really had to find a strategy to survive.
Yes, I think now he's just acting like a crybaby, because those are the cards he decided. He wasn't dealt those cards. He decided this is the route I'm going to take. This is what I was going to be given, and he was told these are the conditions. So it's like it's like what this relationship entails, and then you get into it, and then soon after you want to leave. I've also been to the ground, and I think it also differs, because I was recently at Mukuru kwa Ruben, and they've been saying hawaje on alami right next to their houses.
Yeah.
You know, it's
Everywhere.
cleaner. You know, things are much more effective.
Okay.
You know, because we see.
Courtesy of NMS.
Yes, one thing Sonko was very good at was sideshows. Yeah, and PR.
Okay.
You know, he's very good at that, and we know that. If you follow him on social media, there's always something, you know, to keep up. It's like keeping up with the Kardashians, but this time it's right in Nairobi. You know.
Yeah.
He's a very entertaining person, and sometimes he goes overboard. You know, sometimes this is Nairobi. You know, sometimes I understand why Kidero used to be very quiet and seem like he does nothing, but being there, being a governor. It entails about a lot. There's a lot that needs to be done. We see him playing musical chairs. He's always reshuffling his cabinet. He's always taking out this person. If you go against him, if you don't approve a certain docket or anything, you know, he takes you out.
Yeah.
So he's synonymous for doing this. You know, we can't say it's a lie. How many times has he changed the ministers? In the past maybe 3-4 years, I've never seen people being reshuffled as much. You know, it's actually it's you can't do your job.
Okay.
You know, you can't even hand over to the next person because you don't know if tomorrow you're going to be there. You can't actually embark on long-term projects. You know, and then now you start crying wolf and saying that the things are being done to you and it's not supposed to be done. No.
The constitutional procedures are there, and really, if he is not doing well, we all know what is supposed to be done. But I don't think that has been done, has it?
A very good morning. I don't think that impeaching Sonko will even help this country.
Okay.
He's in his rightful place. If you ask me, it is wrong to even imagine that a person as intelligent as you and another person living in some place I'm not going to mention were each given one vote. Because it pains me deeply to queue for 10 hours. You know, you unaingia kwa queue 4 a.m. in the morning, you vote at midday. And then there's a guy who slept drunk the whole night, who has no idea what he wants, and was given 50 shillings in that queue that day and was told, vote for so-and-so. A guy whose face is never even seen. And I'll show a picture. I saw this on the elections. And that guy has an equal vote. So after you've queued with all the information, with all the civic education we have, with all, you know, look at PLO Lumumba, he has one vote. And look at the guy I'm trying to describe, he has one vote. Okay. So PLO Lumumba, with all his wisdom, comes and decides, I'm voting for so-and-so because I think he can change Nairobi. Then a guy who's just received 50 shillings asks, nitafute jina gani nikifika? Huyo ndio mzuri ya. So he cancels PLO Lumumba's vote. I'm not saying that there should be some Kenyans who have a higher number of voting rights than others. Okay. But I'm saying democracy needs to be controlled. Because it is said that idiots have a way of rewarding us with one of their own every election cycle. Okay. They decide that we are idiots, and we are very many of us. And unfortunately, we can reward this country with one of our own, and they always do that. Okay. And that's why the bulk of the people we have sitting in places of leadership are people who should not even have been heading a nursery school committee. Because they're incapable. All right. When you look at what NMS is doing, and I've said this on this show before, we have water tanks all over. We have roads, we have a lot of improvement. Sonko is unhappy about the idea of people having piped water because he cannot brand underground pipes with his name. He cannot unearth them, brand Sonko for people to see that this water is coming from Sonko. Wow, okay. He wants to go to General Motors and buy a lorry, 10-wheeler worth 12 million, brand it Sonko, then come and give water worth 2 shillings per mutungi to people every other day and call it Sonko Rescue Team. Mbadi, on the other hand, decides 12 million can sink 4 boreholes. Okay. If I sink 4 boreholes and they are in strategic places, these people will not need me as a demigod to come and give them water every day because the water will be available. But why is it that the government was not doing this from the word-go? Sonko wants to be visible. He wants to brand everything. Okay. And that's why he hates underground pipes. That's why he hates water that is coming to you in a way that is not going to be branded his name. Okay. And he's finding this game very unpopular. Because now the roads are being done. I mean, Mukuru, Kwajenga, Kayaba, the roads are being done. Why were these roads not done from the word go? I mean, Mukuru, Kwajenga was set. Why is an incapable person not doing what they're supposed to do? So these predicaments of Sonko are a blessing in disguise for the Nairobians? No, it's just trying to show us that we made a mistake. As I told you, kama mtu hajafika standard 7, you will never do a maths that adds to more than 3 million shillings.
Okay.
Now this person wakes up one day and he's given a maths where there are 9 zeros following a digit, and then he's supposed to make something of it.
Wow.
So the level of education is important, and that's why we keep saying, we're not saying that people should have a degree for the sake of having a degree. It's just that by the time your child is getting to Form 4, they'll be doing a maths where, you know, they are working out 5, 10, 12 million.
Okay.
By the time someone is doing university, you can calculate any figure. So that's why university education is important. But now you have an MCA. You have an MCA who has never seen 5 zeros.
I really want to interject, because
Yes,
I cannot believe that in 2020 I am sitting in studio and hearing these things. You understand?
Yes.
I'm actually in shock. I am sort of thinking, wow, this is where life has brought Kenyans, where they actually think that some people are more equal than others, where they actually think that, you know, just because you went to class 7 or you didn't go to school at all, you know, your life is of less value than that person that got their masters and their PhD.
Right.
You know, first of all, you know, I'm a TVET poster child.
Okay.
I champion vocational and training institutions, because I believe that's where the future of the jobs are going.
Yeah.
And when I hear my colleague talking about PLO Lumumba's vote against that person who slept and woke up and you know was given 50 shillings and told to vote, that is precisely the problem with this country. If we understand that we cannot lift all our communities up so that we're on the same level, so that we can think on the same level, then of course humanity is lost. When I hear him speaking, I hear him talk as though these people are scum, that these people are actually they are the reason why we have all these problems, as opposed to we are the reason why these people have all these problems, because we are not trying to uplift these communities who actually live from 50 shillings to 100 shillings, who are being taken advantage of by our leaders.
Gentlemen, the floor is yours.
I have to complete.
I think he got lost in translation.
No. I have to complete my thought, because let me complete my thought.
All right.
I had him talk about, I cannot believe that democracy has to be controlled. A statement like that in itself is the reason we have the Building Bridges initiative being bulldozed down. How do you say democracy has to be controlled? The paradox of it, the paradox of a democratic country, someone coming in and saying, now we must control this, your democracy. You know?
It's very simple. It's very simple. This beautiful lady here, before she hires a house help in her own house, forget about MCA, forget about governor. Number one, she checks if this house help is able to at least read and write.
Absolutely not.
For some reason. No.
Absolutely not.
Let's be honest. Let's be honest.
I'm sitting here and I'm telling you, absolutely not. Those are not the things that we look for in the job. Personally, when I'm hiring my house help, the first thing I look for is compassion. Does this person understand compassion?
Okay.
Because at the end of the day, when my child is ill and this and that, I'm not looking if she can read a label. I'm looking, is she compassionate enough to understand I must do something? Right. Yeah, so that's the thing that I'm losing here.
We are losing it.
Okay.
Here. Let's go slowly. And this is where I want. This is where
Kamano
I'm coming.
is dying to.
You said you're married, and I believe you're a mother.
Yeah.
Yes.
And when you're going to give birth, one of the first things you look at is that guy qualified to operate on me? Or is that guy a quack? Why do you want a qualified guy handling you when you're going to give birth? Because this is a matter of life and death. But you want someone who is totally unqualified handling Nairobi billions.
Yes, it stems back.
It is very
Again,
it stems back down to civic.
that you have to choose a doctor. That every time you go to hospital,
No,
you ask,
no.
"Huyo daktari amesoma?
No.
Does he have a degree
No,
in medicine?"
no,
But you go and look whether the doctor is compassionate.
You know, no, and this is why. No, let me tell you something. He's even talking about giving. I have to speak because he's talking about giving birth, and he's asking me about my experience on giving birth.
Yeah.
And I want to tell him very strongly here. I gave birth in 2008 during the post-election violence.
Right.
I was not thinking about who's qualified and who's not qualified. I was thinking about the safety of myself and my family in terms of the people around me.
Which does not come with qualification in any way?
The people, those women who are the midwives in the villages,
right.
who now the Kenya National Qualification Authority is trying to certify because they have done such good work without having gone to get these degrees, but just by understanding the traditional medicine, by understanding you understand what I mean?
Yeah.
There's this disconnect that I see people, PhD holders and master's degrees and whoever, those makaratasis, those akina magoha holding. There's a disconnect that they don't understand where the job market is going and what leadership is. Because leadership, Magoha has all the papers. Look at where we are. That leadership is not degrees. It's not. So when you say that Sonko, because he went to class 7 or class 6 or whatever it is that you have to contest,
for that matter. Let's give it to him.
Yeah, that he's not a leader. Now we have the NMS guy Mbadi who has done this and that. I look at you and I think you must be out of your mind.
No, but that's not the case. Sonko is not there because he is a class 7 leaver.
He's there because he was elected.
Yes, he's there because he was elected.
And
but
democracy was thriving.
I understand that.
Yeah.
But you see, because he went to class 7 and only class 7, we are facing some certain problems. That's why he believes that he has to show us a circus for us to believe that he's working.
So it's all circus.
Sometimes you just have to do the work. And now I understand the bill that was passed the other day, and I fully support it. Yes, TVET is very good because at the end of the day we are going to we are a consumer economy and we need a very big workforce, and we need people with actual skills to work. But if you look, we're talking about leadership right now. This is not about the workforce. This is about leadership. This is about the leadership.
Right.
Economics and leadership go hand in hand. You need a sane person to understand what goes on. If I do this is not going to happen. I can't just devalue the Kenya shilling because everyone needs money. It's easier said than done.
Which is still my argument, because when you cannot hold paperwork and degrees and PhDs and say that it is an equivalent of leadership.
No. Right.
Because again,
we're saying at least let it be a requirement for you. If you feel like you need to.
But that's the argument.
To lead a certain people, at least let's go back to school. At least sit down for 3 years.
And when you say go back to school, and this is where the disconnect comes in, go back to school. What is school?
Right.
School is experience. I could have, for instance, if I never told you that I don't have a degree, you would not know.
Yeah.
You would not know, because I've been schooling all my life for 15 years of my work experience. I've been learning on the job. I've been doing this and that, and that is school. So when you say go back, no, because Sonko as well, Governor Sonko as well, has gone to some form of school.
Yeah.
You understand? He has been allegedly in prison, which, if you ask me, is a form of school. Yeah. He has been where, you understand? School does not have to be this building, this institution that you go and sit down and write things in your book and get a degree.
Let me ask you, this is the question. This then would be the question, and this is not to challenge what it is that Gloria says, but I'm just picking up this from a conversation that we've had at that particular time when we're arguing about MCAs saying that they do not want it to take that direction. Someone then said, we have invested so much on matters education. I mean, it is only fair and square that we see rewards in regards to this. And these rewards would evidently be seen when we're having people who've invested on education equally getting, returns for the same in regards to, the works that they do, the works that they get in the country and all that. So, Gloria, as we allow Ben to also come in, I want you to react briefly on that. Don't you think it is only fair that, well, if you've gone to school, gotten a degree, that, I mean, at the end of the day, when you go out there, that the job market is in favor of you? And as much as, again, the argument today is that whatever it is that we learn in school is not really something that is good enough to position us for the job market.
What I think is fair, I think it's fair that hard work is rewarded.
Okay.
And hard work can come in different forms.
Right.
It can come in the sense that I have spent 9 years going to a physical building, studying theoretic things and trying to internalize that curriculum. But it can also come with that person who their family, the father was a farmer, and they have been every day going to the shamba, and now after 9 years of going to the shamba and literally learning those skills, they are actually a qualified farmer. So I believe that hard work is what should be rewarded. And what we have now is a system that does not reward hard work. It rewards that, what do you call it, patriarchy. It rewards people, we know each other, nepotism. It rewards things that are not necessarily hard work. So for me, education is paramount, yes, because without education, you might not go that far. But then, to what extent are we going to push people to churn out papers?
Look, Linda, we are missing the point here. There are 3 cardinal duties of an MCA. The first one is legislation.
Yes.
The second is what is oversight.
Oversight.
And the third one is it's going to come.
Representation.
Representation. Representation you can do very well without any academic qualification. It's possible for you to be compassionate, as he says, and come and say, watu wangu hawana maji, hawana barabara, hawana hii. Excellent. Now there comes oversight. Nairobi has been allocated 11 billion. Mafirifiri comes there and looks at these figures. And there's a problem. There's a huge problem because first and foremost, if you are semi-literate, understanding that paragraph that is explaining how this money was spent, and I have seen this happen even in Nairobi County, is a problem. So this person will never oversight. You try to put them in departmental committees, any departmental committee you can imagine, and you find it hard to put them in an urban planning departmental committee because what idea would they bring? Kaya. The last one is legislation. Legislation is about coming up with laws that will help or improve the city. For a very long time, we are yet to see any new legislation that is meaningful coming from the counties. I remember times when we used to have people like Olo Aringo, who came up with very brilliant bills, and he was a nominated member of parliament. The reason he was able to do that, even some of the bills that Sakaja has come up with, is because they've been through some level of education and training that helps them understand what policy is and how to come up with proper legislation. We are not saying that people should have an academic qualification for the sake of it. We are saying this because you're putting someone who's probably not been past class 5. And because health is a devolved function, this is the person who is determining the salary of a medical doctor. And they cannot appreciate that this person went to school and spent another 7 years post high school to become a medical doctor. And that's why an MCA in this city is paid more than a medical doctor, which is wrong. And when you look at the roles they perform, you know, just saving one simple life is a lot more worth than having an MCA running around and bootlicking through a governor. And that's why for me, it is extremely important that the caliber of leadership we bring about. Look at the East Africa Legislative Assembly. Uganda chose their best brains. Tanzania chose their best brains. We chose Simon Bohua, we sent him there, and a few others. Kenya has become a laughingstock in the East Africa Legislative Assembly because you ask, what have these people, what value have these people? I'm telling you, because sometimes I go on YouTube and I watch the debates that happen on the East Africa Legislative Assembly, and you see the submissions that are being made by Uganda and the way in which they are being made, and the Tanzanians with their eloquence in Swahili and everything. And you realize Simon Bugwa will sit there and then come back. Most of the time he's in Nairobi. We are having coffee with him in Java because we do not take the issue of legislative assembly seriously. And that's why the East Africa Legislative Assembly, the bulk of the things are happening to the disadvantage of Kenya. Because even when it's time to vote, they are not there. When it's time to make serious decisions, they are not interested. We need to take legislative assemblies seriously, whether they are MCAs or parliament or senate, and let us take our best brains there. Let us not shy away from doing that.
I like what you said about education, and I like statistics. So if you look at it, about 60,000, we have 60,000 graduates every year, and we have 30,000 who actually leave the country to get education abroad. And we know we have about 3,000 to 5,000 who come back. You see, so we're faced with another issue. There's now the issue of brain drain. So now we have to go and import other lawyers.
Brains
we have to go import, and we actually have them. So it's all about giving a conducive environment, and giving a conducive environment is by passing such bills. You know, it's not saying that we're going to limit anyone or putting roadblocks before anyone, but we already have an issue, and this issue has been with us for a very long time. So we need to actually act on it, you know, and the first way we can act on it is having such legislation. You understand? Because in 5-10 years time, you know, the people who are abroad will be like, okay, I think it's time to go back to my country. I can actually represent my country. I can actually we have systems that are working, you know, but right now we can't say much because we've seen NMS has been here for just a few months, and there is actual change. You know, it's not cosmetic. It's something that we can actually see.
I tend to differ
even
with that.
if you sit down. I'm mostly in the ground, and I speak even to the people who even
I'm also there.
The parking attendants.
We are all there.
You know, they say that right now the person who's even frustrating our payments, we all know, we've seen it in courts. Who is frustrating the payments? You know,
we are all on the ground, and we have a different perspective.
How can you fight for some? How can you fight for some people at the same time? He's the same person frustrating that.
See, my argument here is on the first thing in terms of education. Yes, because of the work that the MCAs are supposed to do, which is oversight, legislative, and representation. I believe that you have to be able to at least read and write. Yeah, and reading and writing is what are we talking about? Class 8.
It's not enough.
Yeah. So I mean, to other people, it's not enough. But for me, if you're talking about I must be able to read and write and understand what is being given to me, then I believe at class 8 you're reading and you're writing, and you can understand when they tell you write a composition or read this paragraph and tell me what you know. So I actually come from the ideology that the underserved communities remain underserved and they remain the underdogs because they are always treated with such contempt. They are always treated like the scum, the bottom of the food chain, because you haven't you're already marginalized by the situation that you are in. You probably didn't go past class 8 because of resources, because of this, because of that. And now here comes a government that is trying to say, we don't even want you and your representation in the house because you went till class 8. You didn't go to your PhD. Now, of course, I didn't reach my PhD because I've been here just trying to put my head up and, you know, get some air. So for me, when I look at those communities, and this is the reason I can speak very authoritatively, this is the reason the Hustler Nation is really, really growing. Because what William Ruto has actually done is he's understood there's a whole marginalized community that has forever felt like they're not part of Kenya. And you can just hear what my panelists are speaking about. Oh, you must do this, you must do that. They are already, you know, saying, you know, separating the inaitwanga sheep from chaff ama what. Nyinyi mkae huku chini sasa as you know, legislative assemblies, PhDs, nini. You get what I mean? And you can when I speak here, let me tell you, there are so many people who would want to get those your PhDs, those your masters, those your things, but they are unable. So that's why the government actually came in and said, let's push this TVET economy. Let's push this, let's try and cover these guys who are really unable to get to those PhDs and whatever. So for me, when I look at now the stuff that is being, through the Building Bridges initiative, that the MCAs and who must go and get a degree and this and that, I'm like, are you really building bridges? You know, already there's a disconnect between the underserved communities and you guys. And now you're even pushing it further by saying, actually, we don't even want you to come to the table because we understand you don't have degrees.
You don't have degrees. But what about that? Even as you come in, let's talk about the quality of education and let's talk about the quality of these degrees that we're talking about today. And you will bear me witness. That it's pretty much easy for anyone to walk into any university and register for a course and they will get their degree. Is it that natural wisdom that we call for? Is it the degree actually? And I repeat this statement, that we all have seen and witnessed Sonko proceeding to get his degree. True or false? So in as much as maybe he was a dropout at class 7 or maybe he proceeded to ward level and everything, over the years he's been able to gather that. We've seen the DP himself, he's, you know, elevated to that level of being a doctor. So we agree that today anyone in this space can get a degree. Is that really what we are looking for? Is that the quality that indeed will come in to serve us?
This is what we need to understand. That in every nation there are systems that have been set that are supposed to, if followed properly, change that nation. We know people who ordinarily should never have been doctors who become doctors, people who should never have been lawyers who become lawyers, and we've seen the quality of their work after that. But what we are trying to say, that the fact that the systems will be abused, because even there are people who get HELB loans and never end up paying. There are people who will get a Barclays loan and they'll run away with it somehow. That will never cease to be in every nation. I believe even the US and those developed countries, like now you're seeing they're having challenges with their elections. But let us say this, there's something wonderful and beautiful about somebody having some level of education. It helps a lot. And we are not saying that those people who are marginalized are completely and totally marginal. Every ward you go to, every single ward you go to, you will find one brilliant brain that the community can own and say, sisi kama ward, tumetoa huyu kwa sababu tunaona ako qualified kuwa MCA. What unfortunately happens within our communities is like sometimes I live near Motoine Ward. Somebody almost became an MCA. He was very good at roasting mitura and he was very entertaining, and people said next election tunakupatia MCA. And he almost got there. But it would have been a catastrophe because I even see how he runs his own personal life. But in the same ward, there are some brilliant young ladies, 2 or 3 who I had seen, who were qualified for the same. If this community had thought and said that we want to develop our ward, and what we need is one of us who is qualified to go and become something, and they stand and rally behind that one person who they own, and that person who feels indebted to their own community and loves their community, that's when we shall start having good leadership. So we are not saying throw those communities out of it. What we are telling them is within yourselves, choose for us one of you who loves you, cares about you, and is qualified to lead.
But they chose Sonko.
And Sonko
who loves them and cares about them and wanted to lead them. Isn't that what they did?
Sonko was a disaster.
No, but then I'm just using your narrative. Choose one of you who you believe in.
Sonko was a huge catastrophe. It was a huge catastrophe. And remember, in Kenya, sometimes we do not necessarily vote for the person. Sometimes we vote against.
Yeah.
There was this thing of the only person anaweza toa Kidero ni Sonko. Because he had that mass appeal of people. And so people were voting for Sonko to remove Kidero. And how many times have we in this country voted for one person to remove another, which is usually
do you suppose that such was the case on ground? Is it because Kidero did not perform, or is it because genuinely people were voting to root out Kidero? It's because they liked Sonko's ideologies, they loved that Sonko cared about them and all that.
Kuachana na kura mingi. But I can tell you, people did not want Kidero at that point in time. And coming to what she mentioned, something that really annoys me about the Hustler Nation, because it's a big, huge lie.
Before we come to the Hustler, let's first of all hold it right there. We're going to come to the Hustler Nation as we talk matters BBI. But the Constitution, protects every other Kenyan, literate or illiterate. Don't you look at this trajectory that this Nairobi drama is taking? A trajectory that would land us into a constitutional crisis. Gloria started by saying that, he was voted in. So why not give the Nairobians what it is that they voted for? Why is it that there's now a short change in this particular approach?
So now she's trying to say we need to be punished. No. As I said before.
Yes.
Sonko sat down there, he said he had a few black labels or whatever he said. He's the one who handed over. He had no gun to his head. It was even telling
something that has been challenged in court, and also equally the argument was that was not rightfully done.
Yes, but at the end of the day, you could see that he was willing to do so.
But later on he said he wasn't.
Yeah, because now he sat down and his demons now understood now I don't have enough power.
Whether they did or not, if the Constitution argues that was not the right procedure.
Yes, if
would
it
that
argues,
be challenged in any way?
If it argues that was not the right procedure, and then that can be challenged. And I feel like at this juncture where we are going to as a country, it's better to respect the Constitution. We've seen it through our elections, and you see now the Trump card is trying to play right now is thinking it's going to be the same thing as Kenya. Where the whole election was nullified and we went back to the ballots, or some of us did. So if they decide that whatever Sonko did to himself is wrong, then it is wrong, according to the Constitution. But right now, we're about, I think, almost 1.5 years to the next general election.
Yeah.
We have so many things we are talking about, so many discussions. We also having the BBI and so forth. So we see what is failing us. Kenyans are now having a chance, because we are not, civic education is not really preached in Kenya.
Right.
We understand it after we've already laid our bed, and now we see these things are going very bad. We understand. So there's a book called The Merchant of Venice. Basically what it says, at the end of the day, the truth comes out.
Yeah.
Because some people are fighting for their personal well-being, and others are fighting for the well-being of other people. And over time, this is when you see this. Yeah, because we see Sonko is loyal to his party, or so he says. Not the people. So that also tells you about his character.
Okay.
So it's a double-edged sword.
All right. Well, as we get wind up on this, Gloria, let's face it. Nairobi is crucial. And I mean, the leadership of Nairobi should be sober enough. It houses the national government, houses a couple of UN offices, houses so much so, or so to speak. And face it again, we've seen levels where we've gotten illiterate leaders and it has costed us. Face it again, we've also voted literate ones that indeed, got us to that point where we started questioning. And I think you've given an example of the same. Which one would we rather?
First of all, I don't subscribe to that ideology of Nairobi is so crucial.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, because Mombasa is crucial, my friend.
Okay.
We have the port there. We have the highest, it's the highest earning income for government. We have, could be access to all sorts of things, including terrorists.
Right.
So, I mean, every county has some level of importance.
Okay.
If we're going to start saying, Nairobi is so crucial, we have to treat it with, I mean, what are we trying to do? Devolution came in so that each and every part of our country is brought to a level that they're equal players in contributing to the national
We cannot
kitty.
dispute the fact that across the world we have capital cities that are crucial.
Yeah, that's okay.
And that we cannot
and
overlook.
in fact,
And
what I always challenge the governors in these different counties to do is to lobby to get those your United Nations and whatever to go and camp in their counties. Because if we are going to reach a place where we are saying devolution is working, that's what we should be seeing. And back to how I want to wrap this up is that we are referencing the Constitution. Chapter 4 of the Constitution talks about the Bills of Rights. And the Bills of Rights, in there when you read all those 22 or something, you talk about respect and protection of these human rights. And one of them is that no human being should be subjected to discrimination. And all I've heard this morning from my co-panelists is there are these stupid people who are in class 4 and they want to come and lead us. They should not lead us. And there are these people who are professors and they have degrees, and those are the ones we want. That in itself is discrimination. Discrimination through education, discrimination through marginalized communities. And so when I speak very strongly about take a minute and look at what the Hustler Nation is doing and maybe stop to think, why is this thing so dangerous? It's dangerous because it's tapping into that whole marginalized community. And if I were Keleweke, Raila Odinga, or this guy for Maendeleo Chap or whoever else is coming to sell us a manifesto, I would really take a step back and think, okay, how am I tapping into those marginalized communities? How am I making them feel like they're a part of Kenya? Am I now coming with policies that are discriminating them further? Remember, the CRA didn't pass because the guys in Wajir and the Asal areas thought, why are you bringing the 1 man, 1 shilling, 1 vote thing? And you know very well will be marginalized. So right now, the only thing that is going to sell to Kenyans is, I want to feel like I'm a part of this country. And if your policies or whatever it is you're pushing through whatever initiative, whether it is Punguza Mzigo or Building Bridges initiatives, begins to feel like you're excluding me, of course, you've lost the plot. Yeah.
Right. Emmanuel Omodi says, kindly remind Gloria that we have New York that is so much developed but not treated, given the same treatment with Washington, D.C. Go to Tanzania, see how much Dodoma is more looked like as the capital city, but actually Dar es Salaam stands out more and so much. So just a polite reminder. Let's close that one and cross over to Matters BBI as we introduce that subject of the Hustler Nation that Ben Kinuthia was bringing on board.
It's very easy. The problem we have with the people she's defending very much, and these people, I believe what they need is empowerment, is simple. The problem we have with them is they are used every other time and they are used by politicians. In 1992, they'll be called Youth for Kanu 92. Watatafutwa wale vijana who have got nothing left of them other than to be told, let's take Moi back to power. In 1997, there was mageuzi. It was the same poor people who were used. They have been told, sasa kuna mageuzi, tutageuza serikali. I remember Orengo, he went around this country and he made young people believe and feel so passionate about it. Matiba did it with Sabasaba. When it moved to 202, there was Chinkororo, there was Mungiki, there was Jeshi Sijui Lanani. These young people again were told and made to believe that they will be in the next government. You should have seen the youth in Kisii singing Chinkororo there and believing that they are going to become the next best thing after elections. They were used, they were misused, they were abused. What happened to Mungiki? At the right, there was a time when Mungiki was a demon in this country. Then come 2007 elections, Mungiki was a small god. They were told now there will be power, tutaenda tutachapa watu walikuwa wanachapa watu wetu, And then that's how post-election violence happened. Then there were people in Nandi County who were told that you are warriors, you can use spears, you can beat up those Kikuyu boys. And these people were militarized like that. They were used, they were misused. How many of them did you see in government? Today now a new name has been coined for the poor people. They have been told that you people are hustlers. You people are weak, you people are poor, you people have been misused for a long time, and this time around we are going to put you in government. I assure you, and I can say this with absolute certainty, that even if William Ruto became president in 2023, that horse hustler narrative will die.
Yeah.
The way the Michukis fought the Mungiki who helped them, they will fight those hustlers and put them back in their corner and impoverish them properly so that they can use them for the next election. There is nothing like a politician who means well for these people who are poor and weak, other than that, who comes and creates for them systems and institutions like the TVETs that are going to empower them directly.
Okay.
If we were working on creating manufacturing so that these people can get places they can earn, then it would be different. But I can tell you, the bracket of youth for Kanu 92, Mungiki, Chinkororo, it just keeps changing. Get young people who believe that they're impoverished and they're in a place that is for poor people. I remember Uhuru saying, hey, Jeshi Motika, go here, Jeshi. He was so in touch with the poor person that they believed wao ni jeshi yake. And I'm telling you, they would kill for Uhuru. The people in Kisumu waliangusha power posts. Hakutakuwa na elections. These were people who Raila was able to touch and show them that you are the poor people who will come to the seat of government. Walingua reli Kibira, usisahau, in the name of Raila. Where are they today? Are they in government? Has Kibira changed? Ruto has just coined a new name for Youth for Kanu 92, or Mungiki or Chinkororo or the others. And I'm telling you, once he's done with them, he will dump those hustlers in a way they've never been dumped.
Kabano.
One thing I disagree with this so-called hustler nation. We've seen how people were arguing and complaining that, you know, instead of giving people jobs, instead of creating opportunities, you're here giving them a wheelbarrow, you know, which is just like a band-aid. You know, it's just a solution for now, but it's not a solution forever.
You're a philanthropist. Do
yes.
you think that sometimes it's only fair that you solve the situation as it is anyway? Because it's a terrible situation for the hustlers down on
Is
ground.
he a philanthropist?
He is.
You are a philanthropist?
Yes, he is.
Shock.
Personally, I give towards education.
Okay.
Personally, I give food, but that's not it. You know, it just shouldn't be put in a box, you see. And there's a thing that this hustler nation lies to the people.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, if you remember, just a few months ago, he supported the BBI. He said, I think this is good, this is good, this is good. But because he's playing politics, it comes to a point, because he wants to show his prowess, he says, no, I do not support this. Can you change this? Can you change that? But he sees they're not
Does he not
buckling.
raise valid points that really need to be looked at?
They're not, to my reasening, they're not valid points.
Yeah, well,
Please.
okay.
One valid point.
Well,
No,
you are supposed to tell me
I
whether
would
this is
like
valid or not. I mean, his arguments are pretty much, of course, arguments that are coming out from what is within
From
this.
ignorance.
And he's also, why
Yes.
do you say it's from
I'll-
ignorance?
no.
How do you ask
Wait.
at bombers of Kenya?
Uh-huh.
Just one point. How do you ask at bombers of Kenya? Huyu atakuwa prime minister, huyu atakuwa hii, huyu atakuwa hii, then hao wengine watazama. I felt like going into my TV and telling him, wait a minute.
Okay.
The reason they are creating leader of official opposition is so that hao wengine wasizame. So huyu Raila angekuwa leader of official opposition,
Okay.
huyu mwingine angekuwa deputy leader of official opposition, and then wangeform a shadow cabinet. So you come
I'm
and tell
limited
the
to
whole
this.
nation
I
that I have actually not read the document.
No. I want to, I really allow me
We're
to
coming back to
interject.
you.
Huh? You know, first of all, it pains me that every time we talk about the marginalized communities, there's always this negative connotation that is done, that is brought about. It's like we talk about the poor, and immediately you hear my colleague talking about Mungiki, Chinkororo, tags, Yeah. As if,
But are they rich?
as if in that community, that's all that exists. You know, so when you talk about Hustler Nation, his immediate address was, you know, Mungiki, you know, Chinkororo, you know, these tags, you know, as if there's nothing else there in those poor communities.
Okay.
So I want to address that. That is how the missionaries came and told you black is associated with bad. You know,
But
so poor is associated with.
They also told us, here's the Bible, here's your land.
No, so poor is
Let's not forget
associated. So
about
if
that.
you're poor, the one thing that they put on you is now you're a thug. You're poor and so you're a thug. And that's what he's actually done. And then I've heard him also talk about, you know, William Ruto will come and sell you this and sell you that and he's going to blah, blah, blah. Okay, that's politics, yeah? that's exactly, I don't want to comment on whether or not Hustler Nation is going to come to fruition and we are going to see change and all that, because politics is politics, and I'm not going to try and sanitize that. But when you really want to take away the conversation from points that were raised, valid points that were raised, and nobody had answers to those points.
Okay.
And he was saying he wanted to enter the TV and tell him.
Yeah.
I was sitting in Bomas.
Yeah.
I was sitting like less
because
than.
you also didn't understand.
Less than
That's the problem.
And when I was in there, I can tell you, it was so uncomfortable for 90% of the people in there, because it's one of those things when someone comes and tells you, but you're naked. And you are naked, and you want to say, no, I've been clothed, look at me, it's just that you see me different. It was so uncomfortable because those were realities. And the only reason you said that William Ruto, at the beginning, he said he supports it, and now he's changed his mind and all that. I supported the Building Bridges initiative on the first one that came out, because it was about uniting Kenyans. And on the second one, that was sneaked in and quickly pushed to Bomas, we looked at what they were doing with the expansion of the executive. We looked at what they're doing with our resources. They tried to lie to us about the youth. You're saying the youth are being used all the time. Oh, we are being used this year. It's the same. The Building Bridges initiative is actually trying to put a blanket statement and say we are going to bring the youth commission. Yeah. So don't worry, we have everything for the youth. And yet we already have a national youth council that exists. That does nothing. So if it's about using the youth, everybody is using us. From Raila Odinga to Uhuru Kenyatta to William Ruto to Hutu. In fact, at the end of the day, I said, like he's a philanthropist, and you asked him, why do you give these people food? And he fumbled. Because your immediate need is that you need to live, you need to eat, you need to, before you even talk about empowering me with a job.
But you're not talking about education.
No. And there's a point that you actually said. You said, yeah, that is just the band-aid, and after that we do a lot more. This is what I've been challenging Kieleweke. Can you go and see the behind-the-scenes back-end engineering of that wheelbarrow?
It is more of hustler and dynasty. And again, there is one person who's asking a question. Jaramogi Oginga Odinga was a hustler. By the virtue that nobody knows his father, who it was, and everything, then he got into power, became, of course, the VP for 2 years, only 2 years. Same applies to the DP, and we're not here to discuss individuals anyway. But then again, we're just trying to look at where all these names culminated from, who we do not know the dad, but came on board and officially became the DP for 8 cool years.
Maybe what is lost in translation, what is lost in translation, which we should begin with, is who is a hustler. Yeah.
And who's a hustler?
Who's a hustler and who's not a hustler.
Okay.
And to me, my understanding is a hustler is somebody who works hard to get to where they want to be. So when I see people talk about wheelbarrows and makangas and whatever, to me,
that is not the definition of a hustler.
No, but that is
that is the definition on the streets.
All right.
Sometimes
that's the only problem. That's the only problem.
Sometimes we lose it, my brother. These people whose main currency is
I think I would want to believe so.
And they are always playing victim. And I tell people, stop playing victims. Step up and become a victor. You cannot continue. There are people who even prefer to be sick so that they get pity all the time. I'm telling you, most of these people you call middle class who've worked hard through education, I'm telling you, it's not easy to study. People think it's very easy. These people have worked hard. It's very hard to acquire, for example, a degree in medicine. It's very hard to acquire a degree in engineering. That person is a hustler.
Yeah.
They've come from a very poor background.
That person is a hustler.
They've come from a very poor background to be where they are.
We're in agreement.
Yeah. So now, this is what I was coming to when I was coming to the wheelbarrow thing. Right now we have corona. And I ask myself, how many masks can one wheelbarrow buy? Or how many sanitizers can one mkokoteni buy? Because we need to have our priorities right. When you come to the people of Murang'a, na hawana mask na unawapatia wheelbarrow first, you're telling them it's okay, you can die of corona.
Be careful that you won't be told that we probably do not need the BBI conversation right now.
Thank you, because
we're dealing with COVID-19.
It's okay, we are coming to that.
Okay.
But the next thing I was
why
coming to
is the responsibility of masks being put in the completely underserved people, and yet we have a functional government that received funds and then stole them?
This is what I was coming to.
And
when you look at that photo of Githurai, where everybody comes and packs a wheelbarrow, everybody, and your mind tells you that what these people needs is a wheelbarrow, I think you need to go to a mental hospital.
Okay.
Because the next thing is the next person who is coming for MP will come and give them an umbrella. And the next person who is coming to be MCA will come and give each of them a small bucket to wash their hands.
Okay.
We are being stupid.
No,
let's
the conversation.
Okay, this is what I was coming to. Let me finish. Let me just finish. This is what I was coming to. If we allow that lineup to continue like that, the next person will come and give them each a mobile toilet. The truth is, the seat of government should have provided one market with toilets, with a hand wash basin, with everything for these people. So that we do not have one guy coming to give them a wheelbarrow, another one an umbrella, unanyeshewa, another one comes and gives them a mobile toilet, another one a place to wash their hands. We are being silly. What these people need in Githurai is one complete market where you wake up in the morning, you have a stall that belongs to you, that you pay a small fee to the county government, whether Uhuru is president, or Ruto, or Raila, or any other person. And you can wash your hands, and there's a toilet, and you're sheltered from the wind and the rain and everything. What we are doing right now is creating demigods. So that today I give you a wheelbarrow, you worship me. The guy who wants to be MP gives you an umbrella. The guy who wants to be MCA gives you a small place to be washing your hands. This is nonsense. Leadership is people who are sitting in government should create one complete market with everything for these people. But any other Dagoretti Corner tumejengewa soko mbili. It's making a lot of sense. Imetoa hundreds of wheelbarrows from the roads and hundreds of mikokotenis from the road. It's just about to be open. There's Karandini market and there's another one inside Dagoretti market. What needs to happen now is hapa Kawangware wajengewe soko ambayo iko na choo, ambayo iko na stalls, ambayo iko na kila kitu. This nonsense of giving a wheelbarrow and an umbrella is not going to work for this country.
So let's we'll go back to what you said and what we were talking about. Let's break down the hustler nation. Let's break down the word hustler. So a hustler,
the high class, the middle class,
according
the low class.
to your definition, is a self-made person, man or woman. Yes.
Absolutely.
Okay. So there's a book called the
Self-Made.
Yes. There's a book called The Outlier. It tells you one thing. There's no self-made person.
That's your ideology.
No. I'm just let's beg to differ. Let's reason. You see, this self-made person is there because of luck. Is there because of outside forces? Is there? You don't believe in luck? You don't believe in blessings?
Yeah.
You know, we believe in God also.
No.
You believe in God?
I believe in God, but
Yes.
I don't believe
So
in
do
luck,
you believe
because
in
luck is
blessings?
a combination of so many things.
Okay.
including
I was
being at the right. It's not luck.
I was
it's not like I'm
coming
lucky.
there. I was coming there. So he says there is no such thing as a self-made person, because for you to be a self-made person, it means someone held you from somewhere and put you somewhere. It's the surrounding. You know, it's the environment. It's things that happen that culminate to where you are right now. You know what happened to the king of the hustlers. You know, someone picked him from nowhere and put him where he was, and that is why he's now called a self-made man. Do you understand?
By Moi.
I
Do you understand?
disagree.
Do you
By
understand?
Jirongo.
I disagree because being self-made can. Whether you're right, being self-made. Being self-made
So do you
could
understand?
mean
Do you
that you
accept
want. Listen,
that there's no
there's
such
a thing called
as a
mentorship.
self-made?
There's a thing called mentorship. I could choose to mentor 5 people, all from the same background, all from, poor, they all don't have a certain level of education. And out of those 5, not all of them will reach a certain level. Yeah? There's still a level.
Mentorship doesn't mean giving someone a job.
Allow me.
Okay.
There's still, because that's what you're talking about, that somebody held your hand
No.
for you to get there to be
I was trying to tell
self-made.
you, there's no such thing. It's a fallacy.
And that's
There's
what
no such
I don't
thing
believe
as a
in.
self-made
I don't
man.
believe in that because you can make it in life if someone mentors you. But that
Mentorship by
mentorship,
Jirongo.
but that mentorship is not enough. It's not in itself enough. Like I said, I can pick 5 students from underserved regions and decide I'm going to mentor you into this field that I am in. And not all 5 of them will be successful. So there will be things that will make the different people be successful. And now those are the things that I choose to focus my definition of being a hustler. Because it will either be the drive, it will be the drive that I have, plus this mentorship,
plus the amount of money you're able to steal.
He talked about the environment. He talked about the environment that is conducive. Please, let's tuonge sasa chini, twende kwa kijiji, twende Kabiro, huko Dagoretti North, pali unaongea, and then you tell me the environment there. if we're talking about the environment that you are, that's what made you. Yeah? Then we're also saying that is the reason why those people in underserved regions are not getting anywhere. Because their environment is not conducive. And I agree with you when you say that government should not be giving handouts. Yeah, I actually absolutely agree with that. Because the handouts, what it does, it creates demigods. That's true. But then when I look at these initiatives that are being taken, in fact, I felt like I was abused by the president's speech when he was talking about what we've done to the youth and blah, blah, blah during the State of the Nation address. Because they were talking about making the youth to move from wage earners into, what did they call, capital earners or something like that. Like basically you're not just earning a daily income and now you are a person who's creating wealth. And then he said, and the government is doing this and that and that. And I asked myself, is that what Kazim Tani is doing? Because Kazim Tani is pushing that you remain there, that the environment around you keeps you there as your earning wage. So for me, when I look at that definition of hustler, and this is what I choose to take out of it. By the way, I am not a tanga person.
But the question
I am a pragmatic woman from Kisii County. Pragmatic. And I work in the slums. When I go to the slums and I see a woman suffering there with their child, amekaa hapo karibu na sewage and everything, I'm not going to start preaching to her empowerment and the Bible. Her immediate needs are what I will meet, after which there's a back-end engineering of, okay, now that you can breathe, now that your head is above the water, what can we do for sustainability?
What makes you think Ruto is going to bring a different picture after being in power?
And you know, I have questioned every time I come to state, and you've heard me saying,
yes,
I'm tired now of seeing the wheelbarrows. Not because I don't subscribe to it. I want to now see your manifesto. I want to see how you're going to transform your wheelbarrows and your DJ disc things and whatever it is that those things I call capital and people call handouts. I want to see that translating into a policy, a manifesto that's going to now buy.
If you can also understand what Kazim Tani does, you know, Kazim Tani was one of the stoppers for the economy. The economy was doing very bad, and the only way for the money to get to everyone, you know, for any way to
Kazim Tani is a scaled up version of Waititu's program, which, by the way, people spoke very badly about. Waititu's program was basically trying to ensure
but
the people who are under, no, his program, by the way,
right
was targeting alcoholism and substance abuse. He was saying these people who are under alcoholism and substance abuse, they need to be kept busy during the day so that they don't go back to alcoholism and substance abuse. And then he was incentivizing them with that money. Then Kazim Tani came and scaled that up and tried to tell us that is youth empowerment. No, that program was targeting alcoholism and substance abuse. So you cannot scale it up to the youth.
No. Linda, I'm trying to tell you, I'm just trying to put it this way.
We need to be honest with ourselves and with one another. Mimi naishi Dagoretti. Tena kwenyewe Waithaka. And we see these people. And I can tell you, the guy who does panel beating for my car every other day, that guy, there's a time we had a conversation na kuna gari tulikuwa tunapeleka, and we ended up in their home area. And they had 14 acres of virgin land that have never been cultivated. But he lives in a single mabati shanty. And every time they call for Kazim Tani, this guy is out there. First and foremost, it is possible to eradicate 70% of the people who live in slums in Nairobi by them deciding that I, as Kenodia, I am going to reduce the number of people living in slums by 1. And that one is myself. The bulk of the people you see living in these places. There's one who told me, there's an NGO. I used to supply water to Carolina for Kibera. There's an NGO that was helping those communities that are living within Kibera to pay school fees and everything. Mse akakamega akona rentals. They are earning rent. But anakuja anaweka jamii yake inaka simple contraption ya mabati. And they appear poor. Na wanasomeshwa na Carolina for Kibera wanamaliza shule. But he's collecting rent in Kakamega. I'm telling you, there is a huge percentage of Kenyans who pretend to be poor and they are not poor.
So what is your point exactly?
Wait. Before we come here and speak compassionately about people who are living in slums, let's first agree that if the bulk of them took you where they go back home for Christmas, you'd be thoroughly surprised that you would stop supporting them. There are people who pity. No, there are people whose currency.
This is elitist talk. You see, go back home for Christmas.
No.
That is a person who goes back home for Christmas. To him, akona home bili.
No.
And then kuna watu wamezaliwa huko kwa Ruben. Hawajawahi toka kwa Ruben.
I sat in the committee hapa. No, I sat in the committee ya Basari hapa, Dagoretti. And some of the people used to give bursary, anachukua bursary Dagoretti, na anachukua basari kwao nyumbani for the same kids.
But it would be
But then what is the role of the government?
What I'm coming
not
to.
only it would be unfair to, you see,
No,
Linda, it would be unfair to say,
This
it
is
would be
led to
unfair
a
to say
system.
that
That's someone who's
everybody,
finessing the
This is
system.
what
that
I'm trying
everybody
to
is
say.
poor.
Failure of the system also.
Yes,
Yeah.
that is
Half-
someone finessing the system.
Half of the people that we are calling poor are not necessarily poor. The problem is that their brains.
Where are those statistics when you say half of the people?
problem
Which actually
is
is supposed to be
that
given by the system.
the brains of these people need to be sat down and told, wait a minute.
You know, even
Tukirudi kwenyu
you know, you're
nyumbani.
referring to these people and the brain.
Tukirudi kwenyu nyumbani. Kuna, and I'm telling you about my own mechanic. Aliniambia wako na 14 acres na hawajalima, hawajafanya chochote, and he's doing my panel beating. Na sisemi anafanya vibaya. But all I'm saying is that amount of virgin land, because it's never been cultivated since God created that place, if it was put to rightful use, this person will probably not be earning 300, 500, 400 shillings and living in that Mabati house.
Okay.
We need to tell these people that if you look deep into yourself, some of you, some, not all of you, some of you are richer than you think you are. And some of you do not even belong where you are. But because pity is your currency, you want to be a victim all the time. Unakuja unaambua, oh, wewe ni maskini, tutakusaidia. I'm telling you, the best person to remove anyone out of poverty is themselves. Na lazima ufike
But
mahali ukubali useme,
I challenge
I want
that.
to
I want to
remove
see the
myself from
statistics.
this.
You know,
Sure,
I want
that
to
should be
see
good.
the statistics of that.
Well,
that
that
the
should be
people
given by
living,
the government. You should understand. The government should be able to understand
and he
all
can
that.
pick one example of his mechanic, but it's very sad. I actually, today I'm just saddened by everything here.
No.
It's very sad. It's very sad that I hear, this is that thing of blaming the victim. You know, you're blaming, this person is a victim and now you're blaming them. You understand? Because he's picking one example, one. And he talked about working in Kibera huko kwa
No, I used to-
nini for Kare. We have a project there.
I used to sell water.
We have
to
a
them.
project there. And me, I'm telling you, the people we work with, their plight and these communities. I'm actually, this is the reason we don't need these leaders, this kind of leaders. Because this kind of leaders with elitist thinking will completely forget about the underserved communities.
Let's hold it right there. Road to 1 million signatures. Call them 5 million signatures. From what, or the kind of, you know, the kind of confidence that is being exhibited by the team that is pushing for the BBI. Towards the last minute.
I think it's going to happen. It's very possible. There's the people who are fighting it. I don't want to name names because it makes some people very uncomfortable if I name names about their so-called demigods. But there are people who are fighting it, and at the end of the day, where Kenya is right now, we can't avoid this conversation. You know, it's already been done. They were with the same mindset at the Bomas one. Now, when it comes towards the finish line, they're trying to change the goalpost. You know, and we know why they're trying to do this, because at the end of the day, there's no more money for them, you know, for the other team, because there's going to be a yes team and there's going to be a no team.
Right.
The no team, they don't have enough funds, you know. Let's just say it as it is,
Okay.
because after that is the general election, you know. And right now they're seeing the miscalculations they had done, and they are now bringing so many problems that are very unculminated for, you see. So it's going to happen, whether we like it or not,
Okay.
because the Kenyans have spoken. You know, I've been with this process since the very first day.
Okay.
You know, I've sat in different communities, and not just to say that it's not about this people and that people. You know, I think that's something we should not. Let's not put a reference to them or we. You understand? But also, I was trying to make her understand about something about Kazi Mtaani. When we got this money from the World Bank, you know, it was just there to help our economy, because we were doing very bad. Right now we are at -4, you know, and our economy always grows at least by 5%. So the only way, some things are not ad hoc, some things are uncalled for, but at the end of the day, we need money to go right down, you know, to our macro economy. We need some spending to be done. Hapo hata kwa mama mboga, you know, someone just buying a simple loaf of bread, you know, just bringing up each other. You know, that's why this Kazi Mtaani is done. You know, when Waitito was doing it, it was a different time, it was for a different reason.
Okay.
You know, that didn't make sense. There was something called rehab. People would have gone for rehab, you understand? But right now, our economy is in shambles. You know, if you don't give that young boy the money, he has energy, you know, he can come, the next thing he'll do is rob the next person, you know. So it's as I said before, it can be a band-aid, but we need it right now.
Okay, well, interestingly, road to economic recovery is probably something that we're going to discuss some other time, and whether indeed the government has done well first to cushion different people from this COVID-19. It has done well, you think so? With all the question marks that were put on the same?
There's so many question marks,
yes.
But at least some people are having that money.
All right, let's listen into what Baba said in regards to collection of the 1 million signatures, and then we come expound some more on that.
There will be some leaders who will also sign that day. Thereafter, the copies are going to be sent to all counties and to constituencies and to wards. And we want this signature collection to be done as quickly as possible. Issue of the word fund. First, the word fund has now been created in the Constitution. So it is work in progress. Some at the other date, it will be reviewed. But we have actually stated to them that it is not possible to revise it at this moment in time. If you disagree with it, let us meet in the field. So, sema yako, tuseme yetu.
Against or for Gloria, reality is that, as you know, picking it up from what Kamano says, it's almost certain that we have this here and there's nothing we can do about it. Listening to Baba, it is almost like, a sealed deal, a done deal. Then we have to have a conversation in regards to this, whether we like it or not.
I think earlier I was getting emotional because I realized that these are only 2 people in studio and we are 50 million Kenyans. And I imagine out of that 50 million, perhaps there's a 20% who think like this. And that's why I was getting emotional, because I'm like, to think that we are talking about constitutional amendments when Kenyans are dropping dead of a pandemic. When you go, when literally our healthcare has failed, it has crashed. NHIF is in the verge of trying to figure out how to even be a health fund. To think that no one really cares. This is a situation where I see in the movies where it's just doom and gloom, and then you see a superstar driving with a Mercedes across doom and gloom and all these bad things that are happening to people. It's like humanity has left us. When I hear people talking about there's nothing we can do about it, unfortunately this is where we are, we can't blah blah blah, I want to ask them to go to Kenyatta. My father was actually admitted in hospital literally like 3 weeks ago. I want you guys to go there and look at what is happening, how people are dying, how literally the nurse is telling you there's no bed, we cannot move your patient wherever you want to move your patient. And you're like, I'll pay whatever money, I'll sell my car, I'll do anything. But they're saying there's no facility, there's no oxygen. I can't breathe. And then I look at Raila Odinga there, talking about we must do this, it's for the good of Kenya, blah, blah, blah. And I am so upset because, and this is why sometimes when our leaders are dying of COVID because they're in hospitals that don't have oxygen, it's just my Christianity that holds me back from celebrating. Because I'm like, this perhaps what we need to see is members of parliaments, former prime minister, all these people just falling sick and lacking oxygen, for them to understand that we have to deal with our health care. Perhaps that's what needs to happen.
But the likes of the DP, as they would argue, is as countering this, saying that, Kenyans probably do not need this constitutional moment, especially now that we're dealing with COVID-19. But he sits in government, and that is probably why most of the people are arguing. I mean, even the dissenting voices, how genuine
By the way, I'm not holding brief for him, and
I
don't care. I even don't care what he says, I don't care what Raila says.
But I'm just looking at the general view of the people who have a voice and are against the document.
He might have a voice. Yes. He might have a voice, which he probably isn't even using the right way. I wouldn't know. I'm not in government. But I see the people who have influence, because remember, Raila Odinga came from opposition, shook a hand, and is calling the shots. Those are the people I look at. You have influence, you have an opportunity to do something for this country that is impactful, and you choose selfish reasons. You choose, and you know what Building Bridges initiative is for him? This is how I see it, very plain and basic. Raila Odinga has been the official opposition leader. That office has not been institutionalized in a way that it holds such autonomy. So I see him there, and then he shook hands and he sort of became kind of like he's in government. And he's like, actually, this is the position I like. I like being the opposition leader, and I like being somehow in government. So why don't we create an office that officiates my position? So when they come with the expanded executive and they talk about the prime minister coming from the number two, the second runner-up of the presidential election, and then they talk about
the prime minister will come from the party with majority.
The party with majority. Yeah, thank you. I accept assistance. Yeah. And the opposition leader will come from the number two. But then you look at that, and you look at the dynamics you have in politics now, and who is that? That is Raila Odinga.
Okay.
You understand? So you sit in a place, you've decided, I like this position, but it's not official. How do I officiate it? I don't care whether Kenyans are dying of COVID. I don't care whether this is this. I'm so selfish to a point that the only thing I want in the next 20 or 30 years of my living is that I maintain this position. So let us push the Building Bridges initiative. That is what it is.
Well, true to it is that, yes, we cannot hold him to accountable in any way because he sits in no office. I remember that time during Bonamas, he actually told them, you know what, you promised Kenyans this and this and this. Actually, it's incumbent upon you to deliver on the same. And as many would argue, well, sad to speak, is that yes, we have COVID here, but life has to move on. That's the reason why we've seen some of these other countries going out there for elections. The conversation that BBI, or the direction that the conversation of BBI is taking, a healthy one or not, in as much as we're saying that life has to move on as we wind up?
I'll start from the Kenyatta Hospital story. It's very easy. First, our politicians went silent, and we hear that very many of them have an ICU facility in their homes. They had COVID has come. Many of them, it was in one of the dailies, they went home, built a complete ICU facility with everything for themselves, and started campaigning.
For BBI.
It tells you, for and against. I'm telling you, from both sides of the political divide, those very senior ones have an ICU facility at home with oxygen, complete with everything. That's why they don't care about us. Some of the governors they're seeing, the monies they were given to increase bed capacities and all, most of them went and built ICU facilities in their homes first, instead of building for Kenyans. We have leaders who are selfish across board. If we wanted to handle COVID nicely, again, it takes us back to the elections. We chose bad leaders. If we had chosen good leaders, they would have done right. They would have done the correct thing. They would have put us first. Because governors have got the capacity to make sure that healthcare is available in every county. Makueni built a hospital that was bigger than Kakamega's hospital, at a third of the cost of what Kakamega did. It just tells you that if you have a good leader, if you have the correct leader, if you choose with your brains, you get good results. If you choose with emotions, and if you choose because you're a victim and you're looking for a fellow victim to become part of leadership, then you get what you vote for. And finally, the BBI process. Is it uniting the country? Is it not uniting the country? Is it the right thing? For signatures, we've done it before. People will draw a rat there, others will draw a cow. It will be a very sentimental process. It will be very funny. You saw how the signatures usually look like. You'll have one hand writing very many signatures, and the same handwriting probably occupying 2-3 pages. These things will happen. Signatures will be collected. A referendum will happen. I think what we need to look at as we move forward is that there will be 12 billion. And this 12 billion, some Kenyans can benefit from it. Unfortunately, I hate the fact that we have to go into a referendum.
Some Kenyans will benefit from it. The
entrepreneurs,
the ones who are currently printing the BBI, and we know who those people are.
This is what I'm going into. What I'm going into is this, that opportunity needs preparedness. Already I'm asking myself, si kuna pesa itakuja Dagoretti South.
You see why I'm saying?
Si kuna pesa.
No. You see why I'm saying it saddens me. You see why?
Kuna pesa itakuja Dagoretti South.
Umejipanga aje?
What I need to do is to come and meet young people and tell them kuna pesa itakuja Dagoretti South ya BBI. Na itakuliwa na vijana wengine ama itakuliwa na
humanity has left us.
So
this is what
I wish I had the powers. I wish I had the powers to stop the BBI process, but I don't have. What powers do I have right now? Is to make sure that ile pesa itakuja Dagoretti South ya BBI imesaidia vijana wa Dagoretti South. So ikikuja
Kamando, 30 seconds, wacha Kamando watumalizie. All right, sawa. Better make it 30. Let's.
You know, I think just because everybody around us is doing evil and is participating in fraud, corruption, and all the things that are wrong, it doesn't mean that you have to join the bandwagon. And that's why I keep speaking to the youth and saying, this is not your contest. This has nothing to do with you. it's not going to benefit you in anything.
Yeah.
A referendum is not for you. Stay away, and by stay away, I literally mean stay. You remember the way Raila Odinga told them, "Oh, you keep stealing my votes, so we are going to not go and vote, so that there are no votes for you to steal."
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
So for the youth, just stay away. We are 75% of the population. Who is going to go and vote for anything? If we stay away, we stay away.
All right.
Yeah.
Come on.
My friend is very good at painting mental images. You know, I can commend her for that. But as we're seeing right now, you see, like we've been pushing the opening of schools. Next year, there's a 4-term school calendar.
Yeah.
And people are complaining about it and saying that it's too expensive. It's the same thing with the BBI. You know, we have problems happening in these countries. We have some things that we need to address, some things we need to change. And if we keep pushing it, something bad is going to happen.
Yeah.
You know, and we are the ones who are going to be crying about it at the end of the day. And it's a very bad thing to tell the youth not to stay away from it. You know, it's their right, you know, to come and show and exercise their right, because it's either there's no in between with this.
It's also their right to
It's
withhold.
either yes or it's either no.
But it's
Okay.
also it's also your constitutional right.
At the end
to
of the
withhold.
day, what she's trying to say won't happen because we have people who want wheelbarrows, and then we have people who want dynasties. You know, and
All
either
right.
way, as she said, there are two groups. You
So it
know,
has to be this side or this side. But
it's going to
anyway,
happen eventually. Yeah.
All right, let's hold it right there. Let's wind it up at that particular point. George Kamano, the last speaker, entrepreneur, and also a philanthropist and politician. Thank you so much for your time. Gloria Roba, youth policy analyst, thank you so much for your time. And lastly, Ben Kinuthia, lawyer and political analyst. It was good having you this morning. Thanks for the great discussions. And I think it is important that we always have this more and more, because it is out of that we pick things that are going to be instrumental for us. After this break, we're coming back with more on fashion. Thank you.